Hello, everyone out there in YouTube world, Facebook world, social media world, the world, wherever you're watching this video from here today. Welcome to another episode of Musings with MGL. I'm, as always, your host, MGL. Get it out of the way, as always. If you like the channel, please click the subscribe button. Please like the video. Please share the video. Please comment. Tell all your friends about it. All the help really helps grow the channel, and I really appreciate it. So, another day, another riot, another death, another shooting at one of these crazy riots. And so the video I want to do here today is my take on this new kind of notion that we're seeing out there of people who are against these riots. So whether you want to call them patriots or Blue Lives Matter supporters, or as the media likes to call them, right-wing fascist nut jobs, which of course we know isn't true. That's just media spin on everything. But it's this new notion of people out there who are legitimately tired of these riots, frustrated with these riots, so they've decided to take themselves from wherever they are and go to the riot zone and insert themselves in the riot for some reason. The Kyle kid in Kenosha was there to protect the property of private citizens. The most recent episode we have is out in Portland with this, what they call the Trump caravan, where a bunch of people got together. There's a name of the group. It's almost like got a religious name to it or something. It's just, I'm drawing a blank on it right now. But anyway, there's this prayers for Trump or something like that. But anyway, there's this group that decided they're going to go out there and they're going to do this Trump parade type thing, Trump caravan, where they get in their trucks with their Trump flags, their American flags, and their Blue Lives Matter flags, and they're going to drive basically right through the middle of this riot / protest, whatever the hell you want to call it these days, and see what happens, basically. Now, out of the way first, you, of course, have the absolute constitutional right to go wherever you want. If you want to put together a Trump caravan and drive through the middle of any city in America, that's your right to do that. If you want to go to any city in America and protect property, you have a right, I guess, to do that. My only caveat there is usually you have to get permission from the property owner to do that. So, for example, property owners have certain rights to protect their property. They can convey those rights onto other individuals. So they can hire security guards, private security, whatever, people to protect their property. And then those people get cloaked with the same kind of rights and responsibilities that the owner does. If you just go there and defend somebody else's property and they haven't asked you to do that or engaged you in the ability to do that, their cloak doesn't go on you. Like, you have no right to necessarily protect somebody else's property if they didn't ask you to or engage in your services or whatever to do that. So that's kind of weird. But you do have a right to go stand, I guess, in a public street or on their private property, as long as they're not going to charge you with trespass, and protect it. You do, however, of course, have the right to drive your trucks with your flags, if you want to, through the middle of Portland in the middle of a riot. The question becomes, is that smart? And should you do it, and why? So the first question, as a gun owner, as somebody who's a Second Amendment supporter, I would say it's not smart, because we're always trained to avoid confrontation. One of the first things you learn when you purchase a gun, if you go through any type of training, and everybody, of course, should go through training if they buy guns, is you learn to avoid confrontation. Don't look for the fight. If you can avoid it, avoid it. If you don't have a choice to avoid it, that's when you pull out your gun and you defend yourself. So by getting everybody in these Trump trucks, regardless of whether you have a right to do it or not, and going and inserting yourself in that situation is actually the exact opposite of what we're trained and taught as Second Amendment people and concealed carriers. Now, there's an argument to be made, and this is what the people are making, is that we have to kind of take back this country. Like, we have to quell these things as patriots or whatever, because they're getting out of control. The politicians aren't doing anything to stop it. So we have to step up as patriotic Americans to stop it. And to that I say, no, I don't agree with that either, because that's not your city. And so as a federalist, as a libertarian constitutionalist, that's not your problem, okay? All governments and all safety and stuff should be local. If America is attacked from outside the country, then yeah, we should all get together and fight for our areas. And if you need to join the military to fight against an invading force, that's fine. But if you're talking about civil unrest in a particular city, that's that city's problem, in my particular opinion. Okay, that's the people who live in that city's duty to do that. You know, the rooftop Koreans live in LA during the riots and they go up on the roof and they protect their own property. That's what the citizens of Portland, Chicago, Kenosha, of all these people are supposed to do, is protect their own stuff, okay? There's no reason for you to go in there and protect their stuff. And not to be cruel and callous about it, but these people need to learn that it's their problem, and they need to learn that it's their fault for electing these feckless leaders who run these cities, okay? If you are a voter and a taxpayer in Portland, I don't want your business to burn down. I certainly don't want people to get hurt or beat up, but it's not my job to prove to you that your voting habits are wrong, that you voted in the wrong type of people. You need to learn that on your own, and it may be painful for you to learn it, but people get the government they deserve. People get the government they vote for, and these people in these cities have voted for these individuals all these years to run their cities, and now if their cities have turned to crap, they have to learn that lesson, and they have to fix it one way or the other, whether it's being a rooftop person with your own AR, or whether it's voting for new people to get rid of it, whether it's demanding and marching on your own, like counter marches to your own governor, telling them, hey, ask for federal help or whatever. It's not the federal government's job to go in there and fix that. People keep saying Trump should send in the National Guard and the troops and stuff like that. But again, as a libertarian-minded constitutional conservative federalist, that's not the federal government's job. My taxpayers go to the federal government. I don't expect them to use that money to go clean up the streets of Portland. That's Portland's freaking problem. Just like if I had a problem here, I wouldn't expect them to come down and treat it here, because, again, that's the government that those people wanted, obviously, because they voted for it repeatedly. So I don't want this to come across as like me saying let it burn. No, I'm saying those people need to stand up for their own city. These people are left-wing, crazy radicals, communist, fascist, anarchist is what I think most of them are. And a lot of them are just bored, spoiled little brats who have nothing else to do because they can't get a job and they can't go to school because schools are closed. So this is the fun thing to do. But it is a dangerous group. And so the people in Portland need to stand up and take down these groups their way in Portland, okay? I don't think somebody should drive from, for example, I'm in the state of Florida, to Portland in a truck and try and stop what's going on in Portland, okay? That's Portland's problem. That's the libertarian-minded way. So I don't think the government, the federal government, should say, we're going to go in there and help it out. I'm against the federal government sending in troops, whether they're asked for it or not, because I think, again, these are local things that they need to deal with on a local scale. If you can prove that an organized group in, say, Portland is traveling across state lines, countries, to go start a problem in Kenosha, then you can make an argument that the FBI, the federal government, should look into those people, should maybe arrest those people as an organized RICO group, should subpoena records to find out who's funding these groups and go after the funding people. That I don't have a problem with. But if the mayor of Portland is willing to let these people burn down his city, and the governor of Portland is willing to let these people burn down these cities, and the people who live in those cities aren't going to stop these people or do anything about it or redress their local government and tell them to do anything about it, then you know what? That's Portland's problem. I mean, you're not going to fix that by getting in a whole bunch of trucks with Trump signs on it and driving through the middle of it. What you're going to get is yourself killed, which is what happened, okay? I'm not blaming the victim. I'm blaming the people who killed the guy. And I'm not saying, again, that you don't have a constitutional right to do that, but Portland needs to fix their issues. You don't need to go in and insert yourself in there, because all you're going to do is escalate the situation. And it's not even about escalation, because, again, I'm not trying to blame the victim, but I do believe to some extent the people who live in these cities need to learn a lesson, I guess, for lack of a better term, that who they've been voting for and the way their city's been run is wrong. And that, I'm not saying that in a callous way. I'm saying that's how our federalist system works. Everything is local. What happens in my local city is my local city's problem. What happens in my state is my state's problem. It's not the federal government's problem. It's not the problem for the people who live in a different state than me. It's our problem, okay? Let those people solve their own problem. And if they have to go through a hard time to get there, sometimes that's what it takes. I mean, I certainly hope nobody dies. I'm not calling for violence. I abhor it. I think these people should be arrested and thrown in jail. But a lot of the prosecutors aren't charging these people. They're releasing them the next day, which goes back to the leaders that you elect to be in the positions of power all up and down the board. Police chiefs, prosecutors, mayors, governors. If all up and down the board you got people who are in favor of this stuff, then you either need to fight back against it yourself, elect different people or move to a state that doesn't have those type of people. That's the choice that the people of Portland and Chicago and Kenosha and any of these other places that these are happening have to deal with. So the rest of y'all, stop inserting yourself into their problem. Let them figure it out on their own. And if it's painful for them to figure it out, then a lot of things, we learn are painful. You only got to grab that pot one time to burn your hand as a child before you realize, hey, don't grab the hot pots. Maybe it's time for some of these big cities and these people who vote for these things to touch the pot and see how it feels, and then maybe they'll change their mind in the future, okay? So my advice is, if you don't want to get shot, don't insert yourself into situations and look for problems, because that's the antithesis of what we want in responsible gun owners. And stay out of other states' business. Let them sort it out for themselves, and they'll learn a lesson, even if they got to learn it the hard way, okay? So thanks again for watching the video. I appreciate it. See you next time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, carry on.